Many of you know I have been in Alaska, more specifically in a small village in rural Alaska named St. Michael. I've been here since August of 2020, and for the most part, I'm not gonna lie, it's awesome. I mean, I love the people here. I love the community. It's a small population, but you know everybody. Everyone knows everybody. Um, Shout out to my staff. Not to brag or anything, but my staff honestly is some of the best people that you can come encounter with. Like some of the best people. Even though I'm like the boss in my building, I've learned so much from the people that I've worked with, the older ones, the younger ones, everyone that's come and go. So shout out to my staff. You guys are the best. Also want to say shout out to our old principal who left us. He retired, but it's like, we feel as if our parents left us and left us with a babysitter that they didn't get to choose, which turned out to be horrible, by the way. I'll say that personally. I just want to bring light to some of the things that aren't talked about enough because, in many ways, the people that can talk about these things have been silenced. Whether that's been wrote up, they've been stressed and basically bullied so much to where they just quit because mentally everybody know I'll choose my peace over anything, and that's what it came down to for a lot of people. Other people has honestly been forced to leave, like because of the bad, just corrupt leadership that's been within this company that I've witnessed over the past few years since I've been here. So shout out to our old principal. We love you. We miss you. We wish you would come back. Because you left us with a babysitter that just don't treat us right. I just want to bring light to and awareness, honestly. This video is specifically for awareness of what truly goes on in rural Alaska when there's not the proper oversight. Or when people are put in positions by their friends that have no experience. To bring awareness just to everything that has been swept under the rug for so long. I just want to start off by saying, like, before this year, St. Michael had the best team because it had such a great leader. And once that oversight left, it seemed like everything just went to crap, man. It's sad, but it's truly what happened. So I'm just you go see me keep looking down because I got my notes. Just to hit a few major points, and this will not even begin to scratch the surface of what has truly been going on here, but it will, for major parts, bring awareness to the big crap that's been going on, like, and that they have been able to get away with. And I will not and cannot stand by any longer and see such great people be harassed and treated and bullied the way that they have been just over this last school year. So I just want you guys to kind of walk with me, should I say, as I go over a few things. And I'll just name a few things that has happened. And everything that I say, I either have proof for, but meaning that I've seen or overheard it myself personally. I have a recording for, because, yeah, I had to be Inspector Gadget for the past year and a half, which is more than fine. I don't mind that. Or it's in black and white, meaning you can see this for yourself if you know the proper person to go to. So, again, just a few bullet points, and I'll go into details after I name these. Let me just list my bullet points. So, over the past year, teachers have been wrote up for the most bizarre things ever. Imagine working for a company that asks you proof that of you going to a loved one's funeral. And what I mean by proof is by asking you or your parent or someone in your family to draft up an obituary of your loved one that is passing away in the final days of passing away, to prove that you basically are connected to this family and need to go to that funeral. Could you imagine it? I couldn't. Not only is it already such a hard time for you, but to have someone ask for your family to draft up an obituary just so they can have it as proof. Yeah. Yeah. Imagine them then asking you to leave as close to the funeral as possible. Basically, not wanting you to leave and spend precious time that's left with this family member before they pass away, but they want you to leave as close to the funeral as possible. Imagine a company withholding your pay before Christmas while you're on FMLA leave based off of a rumor. Not nothing factual, not nothing that they have seen in black and white, something that was presented to them, no nothing. But they withheld your pay because they heard a rumor that they couldn't prove and still haven't been able to prove or tell you where it came from, how it was presented to them, where it was substantial amount of evidence to where this is why we did this. Imagine working for a company that will disassemble a whole sensory room for a special needs kid just to make room for a counselor that's not even certified to be in that position. Yeah, I know that sounds crazy too. So imagine a school where the principal is good friends with the AP's wife. So who is nothing more than a teacher, not an admin, no nothing, but a principal who's best friends with the assistant principal's wife. So the teacher is allowed to basically belittle the other teachers and staff with no repercussions. A AP's wife who was allowed to yell and argue with the a community member's parent because they are up there trying to figure out what's the hold up and what's the problem with their child, but not the principal, not the AP, but the AP's wife comes to you yelling in your face about something she shouldn't even have knowledge of. Yeah. Imagine being in rural Alaska, an off-road system where the community and the parents and the kids is used to having programs and winter programs and all these programs, but nothing. All of a sudden it stopped. And you had made plans to, we'll do it later, we'll do it after the new year, and then nothing. So you have not just the kids disappointed who worked so hard for this winter program that they're expected to have every year, but the parents frustrated, wondering when this is going to happen because their kids talked so much about it and worked so hard with their teachers and was ready for this to happen. And then have such disappointment when they figure out, oh no, it's not going to happen. Could you imagine the disappointment in the child's heart, face, when they realize all this that they worked so hard for and was looking forward to so much is just not going to happen. And it seems like that had been just, whatever, water under the bridge, one more thing, who cares, don't have time for it. If we get around to it, we get around to it. If not, they'll be okay. Could you imagine that? Could you imagine your child in the community expecting something and waiting for something, so pumped up for this because it happens every year? This is one thing that we get to do before we go out on this winter break, and then nothing. Imagine the kids who are struggling with instruction in the educational part when it comes to things, not even being able to have tutoring. No tutoring snacks because there's no funding for it this year all of a sudden. When we should know better. We knew that our leader last year set us up to keep the ball rolling. So how, from the end of the school year to just the beginning of the school year, we don't have funds for something that we just had at the end of the school year? How is it okay for these kids that's struggling in certain areas not to get tutoring and not to have certain things for it, but supposedly the contracts for those things are still here? And we have teachers that will go out their way to still do these things, even though everybody knows how this goes. It should be a contract for it. It's an extra duty contract. You get paid for these things, to do these things. And teachers don't have, certain teachers or people didn't have the contracts for it, but since it's in their heart to do it and they want to see their students thrive, they will still do it. Imagine the community losing such a great person. Shout out to our old counselor that was here, that was basically forced to leave because of all the things that's going on this year. And I'll go into details about that again. But imagine a community losing such a great counselor that made such great connections with the students and their parents, that was able to actually reach these kids and have them be comfortable enough to open up to them being forced to leave because of the interpersonal relationships that's happening within their staff. Could you imagine how detrimental that is to the kids and the people in the community that actually opened up and was excited to go forward with this person, but they were forced to leave because of the interpersonal friendships and relationships in the building, in the leadership and administration? Could you imagine the toll that takes on a person that finally trusted somebody enough to open up and tell them things, open up and be comfortable having them in their space that's already a stranger to them and their family, but they was willing and comfortable enough to open up to this person, and then that person being forced to leave? Can you imagine sitting in a freezing classroom, knowing that you already in Alaska and it's already cold outside, and we're in the winter months, the blizzard months here? So could you imagine sitting in a classroom that's maybe 30 degrees freezing, and you got a whole piece of your wall exposed with mold, the insulation in the wall soaking wet? And the administration and the leaders knew this about this building, but they just up and left. Oh, I got a leadership conference to go to. We'll get to it later. And it took for me and another individual to go in that classroom and say, there is no way that you could allow not just your teacher, your subordinate, or these kids to sit in this room. You could smell the mold as soon as you opened the door. Imagine that. Could you imagine working under such leadership that didn't even care about your health, but just wanted to make sure you was another number in attendance so they didn't have to find somebody to take your job for the day, because that's just how lazy they were? Could you imagine that? Could you imagine being just mentally exhausted every morning, getting up, trying to put yourself in a good mood just to go to work because you personally care about your job? You care enough about your students, but just knowing that it's that oversight, that leadership that just drains you every day, makes it so hard for you to even want to go to this building to work. Could you imagine that? Could you imagine just being so tired that you just can't even catch up because you have such anxiety just to go into this building with such bad leadership? Could you, I mean, I wouldn't want to imagine that at all. Like, I say it all the time to all the teachers in Alaska and in the lower 48. And you guys may think I jokingly say this, but you guys are some of the bravest people to work in education. I personally couldn't do it. I know I ain't strong enough, but I know that having such great people like you guys, and not just the teachers here, but for all the teachers who do, if you don't hear it enough, just know it's parents like me and it's people in this community that truly appreciate you guys, going above and beyond for their kids, showing up even when they don't know the mental warfare that you guys are fighting every day. I see it from a different point of view, and because I've been around to hear certain things, to see certain things, more things that I would like to have witnessed, but I have. So I can speak from a different point of view than most people. At all. I don't care to expose you guys for the BS people that you are. Now, this is not everybody. I'm only speaking to the certain people that I know I've come encounter with, or my other have, and I've seen and heard and read certain things that at this point I will not continue to be quiet about. If I can get nothing else out of this video but to bring awareness to the people that this needs to get to, I would have done my job. This is not to bash anyone. Maybe. But this is simply to bring awareness and expose the corrupt things that has been happening within this school district. Because at this point, I would be crazy to sit back and watch these things happen and not say anything about it. And I would like to apologize, because had I been brave enough just a year ago, when I saw certain things happening with certain people, maybe we could have stopped this ahead of time. Or maybe, just maybe, things had to fall the way they had to expose certain things and certain people. I don't know. But I do know that I will be a fool to not speak on it. Because when you see something, you say something. And I'm about to say a whole lot. These are just a few things. Just a few. Again, doesn't even scratch the surface of things that I personally have witnessed just here in St. Michael. So if it's happening here, I'm sure that it's happening in more than one district. So let me go back to my bullet points, and then I'll give you details on certain things. So my first bullet point: teachers being wrote up for the most bizarre things ever. Now, I won't say names. I won't give a specific village, because again, a lot of these things has happened in a lot of these villages, and because, you know, you keep these connections with certain people, you hear about stuff, and you hear about why people have left, and you hear about how they've been stressed and harassed at certain things. So it's not just specifically to my village, but a lot of it has been. So teachers being wrote up. So I will take it back to my personal experience when it came with this. So in October of 2023, which was just last year, I had to go out on medical. A lot of you know that I have lupus and RA and Sjogren's, hard to pronounce. So a lot of autoimmune things that can take a toll on me if I don't properly take care of myself. However, I've been putting off a lot of my medical being here. But, yeah, no, you know how it goes. Oh, I get to it later. I'll do it later type things. In October of 2023, I started my leave to go on medical. My other half had to escort me for this leave because it was 2 different surgeries where I had to go under anesthesia. I had to have a person sit with me there the whole surgery to drive me there and to drive me home. Of course, this is routine things when you go under anesthesia. Was given such a hard time for her to take this leave. It went from her taking her personal days to the current principal here saying, since you'll be gone for so long, maybe you should take FMLA leave. Okay, that sounds like a good idea, because, you know, that's what my other half was taking anyway. So she goes to ask for these FMLA papers. She ain't hear nothing back. Wasn't nobody giving her no information on the FMLA, how to go about doing it, the paperwork for it, no nothing. A week later, she follows up. She sends an email to her boss and the HR department asking for these FMLA papers that this principal suggested that she take. Still didn't hear nothing for a few days. Okay, maybe, you know, everybody busy, you know, it's a lot going on, a lot of moving parts right now. She sends a follow-up email. The superintendent replies to her and says, hey, I sent that paperwork to the principal about a week ago. I'll reach back out to this principal and tell this principal to give you the paperwork. If you don't hear anything from this principal, reach back out to me. We'll make sure you have it. Okay. She goes to her boss, the principal, and says, hey, just coming back to you, asking about this paperwork because, you know, I was told that I should come to you and ask you for this paperwork because it was sent. Okay. The principal gives her this paperwork, which is already filled out. One, so you guys count these red flags with me. When my company had me do my FMLA, I did my FMLA paperwork. It went to a certain department, which was not the CEO. I don't understand how you contact HR and then the superintendent responds to you, but we'll get back to that. I did my FMLA. It goes to a third-party insurance type person. My boss then is notified that, hey, your employee put in FMLA leave for this date to this date. They gave me a certain time frame to get all the paperwork back from my doctor to turn back in with my company. At that point, that was it. That's how my FMLA paperwork went. When it came to her FMLA paperwork, she got a paper, generic looking paper, that was already filled out by the principal with her information. I don't know how you fill out my paperwork for me. You don't even know certain things. And on this paperwork, the principal notated that half the leave would be unpaid. That was a red flag for me, because it's just like, one, how's she filling out your paperwork for you? And two, how is she saying that anything should be on leave when you have all the days to cover it? Okay, cool. Her being her, she's just so humble about certain things when I was already on a, nah, they got me messed up type situation. But anybody that knows her knows she just be so calm about everything. It's okay. We go do this. We go do exactly what they asked for, so it don't be nothing, just whatever. Okay, cool. They then asked for some other paperwork. I can't remember at this point. So I took my FMLA leave with the dates that I would be gone to the principal, so they could attach it to her leave, so they could, everything could be run concurrent with stuff. So you see my days that I'm gone and why she has to be gone type stuff. The principal then says to me, oh, okay, this looks good. This should be enough. I said, yeah, I just wanted to bring it to you because, you know, I heard it was so hostile when it came to certain things about this leave. So I wanted to make sure that she was squared away and that you guys had everything that you needed for her FMLA leave so that it runs concurrent with mine. The principal says, okay, this should be good. I'm going to send it to the superintendent because the superintendent is the one who has to approve this leave because she's taking leave before and after a break. I said, okay, maybe this is how they do it in their company. It's not how we do it in mine, because my leave wouldn't go up to the CEO, it would go to the HR department. So I'm not sure why it goes that way, but again, not my company. Maybe they do things differently. Okay. So we send it. She takes my paper. She says she sends it. My spouse then gets an email, nasty email, from the superintendent saying, and don't quote me verbatimly, because I'm vaguely remembering things. They needed a note stating why she had to be the one to go on my leave and why it couldn't be no one else that could escort me and take me to my medical leave. They said, the superintendent came back and said that she wanted this to say, this verbiage to specifically say a certain thing. My spouse says, okay, I would get that for you the day of my first surgery, because I had 2 surgeries 2 weeks apart. So coming up on the day of my first surgery, she was getting these nasty emails. Oh, and as soon as we took off, I'm going to add this too. Now, granted, she's supposed to be on FMLA leave, right? They were telling her all these things that she needed before they could properly approve her FMLA leave. After one of the people in the HR department said, okay, I'll put this in your file, noted. The superintendent then came back and said, this is what I need the note to say so we can approve your leave. Before her FMLA leave could get approved, per the superintendent, she needed a note from my surgeon or medical professional saying that it had to be her to escort me. It couldn't be no one else. She is needed from these days to these days. This is what was said back to my spouse from the superintendent. Okay. She said, okay, I'll get you that. Now, right after that, we received an email. She received an email, should I say, from the current principal at this school, writing her up because she said, you forgot to tell me the days of your leave. You told me that you put in a leave request, but you didn't tell me the days that you put in. So this is just a written warning, letting you know that going further, I need you to not only tell me that you put in a leave request, but tell me and the assistant principal the days of your leave request. My spouse said, no. I told you. I told you when I put in the days, and I told you when I went back and edited my leave because you guys asked for certain things. She furthermore went to forward the email, and she screenshot the messages that they exchanged over text messages. She screenshot them back to her and said, see, I told you that I put in a new relief request. She said, no, but you didn't tell me the new days that you put in. Now, again, I'm the boss of my building, right? I'm the manager. So when my staff puts in a leave request, sometimes it's on paper, sometimes it's electronic. When it goes in the system electronically, I get shot an email that my staff put in a leave request. Again, it's not the same company, but I'm sure it's somewhat similar. If they put in a paper request, they'll come, give me the paper. I look at the dates, make sure they have the proper time that they're filling out for. I sign off, they sign off, send it in. It is not my staff's job to constantly remind me of something that they already told me. It is my job as a manager to make sure that my paperwork is squared away so I can properly put in their leave and it's notated for. Maybe it's a little different, but I also know that she forwarded you the emails and the text messages where she told you that she put in this leave. She said, nope, not sufficient enough. So I'm telling you, I'm going to stick by this write-up, right? Because I said what I said. So fast forward. The first day of my surgery, we're already in a rampage because I'm upset because she's upset because we did this before we left. Why are they giving you a hard time for something that we already did? I'm not understanding. So I'm mad the day of my surgery. I'm mad because she's mad and I see her hurting and I just want to punch everybody in the face. But I can't because, you know, you don't want to be that stereotypical person that they already trying to play you out to be, right? So you got to hold your professionalism. So, okay, cool. Didn't know how it affected me until I got in this surgery and they had to keep feeding me these medicines to lower my blood pressure because they thought I was stroke on the surgery table. That's just how mad I was before this surgery. So coming out, which was supposed to be just a, simple surgery, go in, go out, was supposed to be 2 hours tops. I'm sitting here with all these nurse babysitters because I have to sit extra time because they have to monitor me to make sure my blood pressure is at a certain rate before I leave their facility. So this is making me even more upset because I'm supposed to be in and out. Now I got to sit here and watch all these people watch me because we're watching these numbers until I can get released. So this has her even more on edge because she's just like, I don't understand. Are you okay? You know what I'm saying? So that. Okay, let's go past that because that's just the leave. My triage nurse, my discharge nurse, hand writes a letter for my spouse saying exactly what the superintendent asked her to say. She was there with me. She was needed because certain things they have to follow. I have to have a person there, drive me there, sit there the whole time, and escort me home and be with me up to a certain amount of time after these hours because of how my blood pressure was and coming up from under anesthesia. So she hand writes this. Now you guys know in the Lord of 48, nurses ain't handwriting nothing. They'll be quick to print you out a little template with their letterhead stuff on it, but this nurse took the time because she saw the email and what this superintendent asked and how harshly it was wrote. Took the time to handwrite this note, put her name in it, put the date, put the time. I even allowed them to put my surgery sticker with my identifiers on this paper so they can see the date of service, the day I was discharged, all these things on this paper. She scanned it to the superintendent and we thinking, okay, she's squared away, she's good. The superintendent then comes back and says, I'm just not understanding why it's taking you so long to get the things that we asked you for. It shouldn't take this long. I can't accept this. It needs to be from the surgeon. Now, anybody in the lower 48 know, if a surgeon has an assistant, which they all do, they're not taking the time to do no notes. They go delegate that to their staff because that's their job. So at this point, we were already gone. because it's hours later, we thinking done deal. You know, you shouldn't need nothing else. She hand wrote this letter for you. It's on my surgical paper with their letterhead from the surgery place that I had to have my surgery in. Thinking it's a done deal. Nope. Superintendent said that wasn't enough. So it's like, okay, the way that they was emailing her while we're supposed to be on FMLA leave, might I add, and this was the paper that she said that would be sufficient enough information to approve her FMLA leave, still wasn't enough. Then we go to, this was before my second surgery. I'm getting phone calls and text messages from people in the community saying, hey, I thought you said you was coming back. And I'm like, I am coming back, you know, I just had my first surgery, all this stuff, you know, giving all these details to the people that I communicate and talk to. And I'm being told that all my personal information about my leave and my spouse's leave is being discussed amongst people that shouldn't even know what type of leave or why we're on leave in the first place. So it was brought to my attention that the principal's wife, who is a counselor, not certified to counsel nothing, was discussing my personal leave about my spouse, saying, you know, I don't know why they left so early when she isn't due to have surgery until such and such and such and such time. Oh, and then, you know, the assistant principal's wife, which, let me take it back. So before I left on this leave, I was standing in the hallway, and the assistant principal and his wife came up, because we're cool, we're friends, as they say, you know. And, you know, you always, after being around certain people, you learn to play the game that they playing, and you let them play in your face, because they think they playing in your face, and think they making you look dumb. But you just sit there and you listen to everything they saying, because you know how to read between the lines. So we're in this hallway, and the assistant principal's wife come up to me and say, hey, why is, you know, such and such taking all her personal days? And to me, it's foreign, because I'm just like, what do you mean? Like, yeah, because, you know, is it because she's leaving? You know, that's something I would do, but I'm tenured, so, or I forgot the word she used for it. I would use all my personal days like that too. And I said, nope. She's leaving early because she's taking our foster child to her dentist appointment. Oh, I was just wondering. So that was a red flag for me, because it's just like, why do you even know that she going on leave? And even more specifically, the type of leave that she was taking. You're not supposed to know that. But okay. Then, you know, we started talking about certain stuff, because the AP was in his feelings, as he always is about stuff. And was saying the same thing, basically. You know, does she plan on leaving? And I said, no, she not leaving. You know, one, I mean, her professionalism wouldn't even allow her to just leave mid-year. And she loves her students so much, she wouldn't do that to them kids, you know. And the AP, and I will quote him, because this is what he said. Well, you know, there's ways to get out of your contract, especially if it's medical or religion. Those are two ways that you can get out of your contract. I again reiterated, no, she's not leaving. She's just going to take our foster baby to her dentist appointment, and then we got to go for my surgery. But we'll be back. Now, fast forward back, because I wanted you guys to know that, because all these details is going to come into play as to, man, they've been doing stuff, huh? Yeah. So fast forward, we're getting ready, approaching my second surgery. And this is after all the little chit chat and rumors have already gotten back to me by certain people, because they're asking me and questioning it, because it's going around. All these rumors are going around that we're not coming back at this point. And thinking back now, these are all the things that they wanted to embed in these people's faces because of all the hidden things that they were doing, like writing her up, harassing her by email or something every 2 days. Now, at this point, I said, I know where it's coming from, because I've been around them, especially when they were in compromising moments, to where they have slipped and said stuff that I'm sure they didn't mean to say. But because I'm going to let them say it, because as I said, Inspector Gadget, right? I'm playing the part. I'm going to let you think that you're playing in my face while I gather everything that I need, because I hear how you talk about all these people. I hear all the things that you've been saying. Okay? So, again, fast forward. We're preparing for my second surgery. Now, my hand was cut open. My first hand was cut open, and I still had stitches in it. And I couldn't get my stitches out until my second surgery, which was 2 weeks apart. So we coming up on my second surgery a few days before, and I'm getting these phone calls, more phone calls from people in Texas, from people saying, you know, certain stuff is being said that's questionable, and I just want to bring it to your attention so that you're aware of this because it's been said. Now, it upset me because I don't work for this company. I don't work in this building. However, I am always there. Long story short, people coming to me telling me that my personal information is being talked about in this school building by people that should not have even had knowledge of what type of leave I was on, why I was going, and how long I would be gone. Now, in the midst of all of this, I said, I can expose you without exposing you, because at this point, I wasn't trying to get messy with it. I said, I'm going to go and approve this friend request that's been sitting in my request box for 2 years at this point. Now, the friend request was from the assistant principal's wife, who said, we're friends, you're my people, girl. Yep, I know, girl. We're people. And if that's how you treat your people, I never want to ever have been considered a friend of yours, because I could never. So go in, I approve this friend request. Anybody that knows my son knows he's on the spectrum. So we had made it known that we will be withdrawing my son from school here and placing him in a school in the lower 48 because we knew that I would be gone for at least 2 months. And we didn't want to have him out of a routine in school for that long. Anybody who has a child on the spectrum know you just can't break their routine like that, or else you will have to start all over type stuff. So we withdrew him from school here in Alaska and put him in a school in the lower 48. Great school, by the way. And I put this after I approved this AP's wife. I put this on my Facebook. I also put on my Facebook because the principal of my son's school in the lower 48 found out that my spouse had went through school to be a principal and all that stuff. So they asked if she would volunteer at the school and help them with certain things, looking over instruction things and stuff like that. And she said, cool. I don't mind, and it made it even better because my son is always used to being in the school with his mom. That's all he's ever known. So for her, it was just like, oh, I get to spend more time with my baby during the day. So clickbait, put this clickbait up on Facebook. I said, you know, first day of school for my boy in the lower 48. I made it real nice. I said also, first day of school to my spouse in the lower 48, being in a North Carolina school again, right? Now, anybody that read it with common sense would know, like, dang, okay. So it didn't say she took the job. It didn't say her first day working. It just simply said first time in a North Carolina school in forever, or something along those lines. I can't remember. My post was then screenshot and sent to the district office. And I'm assuming that they thought that this was proof that she took a job somewhere else. And I'll get to how we figured out that it came from where it came from. But I mean, when I only added one person on my page, it's really not hard to figure out. And I purposely added just her on my page for a few days before I started adding other people, just because I knew I would put clickbait on my page, and she fell for it. Crazy, right? It was screenshot from my page, sent to HR and the superintendent as their proof that she took another job in North Carolina, right? And didn't tell them about it. So we get a message after my second surgery saying, hey, it was brought to our attention that you took a job in North Carolina, and until we do research on this, we will be withholding your pay. She so calmly, and I still don't know how this woman can be as calm as she is, because anybody that know me know I'm flipping everything over. She says, you know, even though she was upset, she was, can you tell me where this came from? What information has been brought to your attention to where it's such substantial information and evidence that you could withhold my pay? No one said nothing. So after emailing her every 2 days about something that she forgot to do, didn't do, they wanted her to do, after they said they was going to withhold her pay, it was crickets. Crickets. Now, because this was like a Friday that this happened when she was supposed to have been paid, because per their negotiated agreement, certain months they get paid early because they know that they're about to go on break and about to go on leave, and, you know, they get paid early. She called, no one was picking up the phone. She emailed them, no one was emailing back. All of a sudden, you know, no one had nothing to say at this point. She finally called, got a hold of somebody in the HR department. The HR department, I think, then forwarded her to the finance department. It was a lady that picked up the phone. Now, again, all of this is what I heard. I was there when all of this was happening. So it's not secondhand, third-hand information. I was there as it was happening. A lady picked up the phone. She stated her name and said, I'm calling because of this. The lady said, oh, I'm going to let you talk to such and such because they can handle it. She gets on the phone with this guy. This guy says, we withheld your pay because we got an email from the superintendent that told us to withhold your pay. My spouse then says, real calmly, boy, she's so much better than me, I'm telling you. She real calmly says, so you're telling me that you don't question or ask why you're withholding someone's pay, you just withhold someone's pay because the superintendent told you to do so? It then goes to say the superintendent basically had all this information that was brought to her from whatever. So she took it upon herself to send an email to the finance department to say this was brought to my attention. Obviously, it's credible enough. Withhold her pay. Still to this day, even though they paid her late, because obviously somebody knew they was wrong, they still have not gave no explanation as to why they withheld her pay, where the evidence came from. Well, we got to the bottom of that. But why it was substantial enough to withhold her pay, nobody has said anything. We just had to figure it out because the person obviously wasn't, you know, brought up to speed about the grimy stuff that was happening. So they was so flustered on the phone, they just started talking and exposing stuff. So we got to the bottom of it, but no one was brave enough to come back and say, hey, this happened. This is why it happened. This was brought to our attention. So we assumed or we thought or we figured it would be enough because of this. After all that, like I said again, she's been paid late. Right before Christmas now. They paid her. She was supposed to got paid December 14th, 15th. I think they paid her like maybe 1 day before Christmas. 2 days before Christmas. Now, again, we're on FMLA leave. So I don't know why they took it upon herself to contact her as much as they did, like literally every 2 days. Knowing that they were in the email chains and seeing all the things and seeing all the questions that she was asking, harassing her every 2 days. But at the building here back in the place where we stay, it was going around saying, oh, we haven't talked to her from the principal. And, you know, so let me just say this. It was the principal, the assistant principal, the counselor, which is the principal's wife, and the self-appointed admin, which is the assistant principal's wife. So all four of them were the ones that was going around saying all this stuff because they just knew they had all the right information. And the assistant principal's wife was the only one that I approved on my page after her friend request had been sitting for 2 years. So it wasn't hard to narrow down exactly where everything was coming from. Okay. So after all of this, it was going around the building. Oh, she isn't coming back. We haven't heard from her. We don't know when she's coming back. I don't know. But not only did you have my personal leave to show when we was coming back, you also was on the email chains of things that was being sent out every 2 days. So you were very aware of when she was coming back because she was updating you guys because you was always bothering her with something. But on grounds, you were saying, I don't know when she's coming back. So much so that they moved her students to another teacher's classroom and told that teacher that she would be teaching their students for the rest of the year because they didn't think that my spouse, they knew, basically, they just knew that she wasn't coming back. So what they were doing, without going into too many details, was sending her all these emails, BS emails about certain stuff that not only stopped with the principal, but literally went all the way up to the superintendent, coming from the superintendent, harassing her so much that they thought that she was going to be pressured enough to fold and just not come back. So the first thing that they messed up in is can't nobody besides me make my wife fold. That's the first thing. The second thing is you guys really underestimated just how strong this woman was, because she been dealing with your BS and she has handled it with such grace. And I look at her when she going through what she going through and be like, man, that's crazy, because I been would have flipped everything over, but she's just, it's okay. It's okay to the point to where it's not. It's not okay. And this is why right now I'm making this video, because it's not okay. It's just not. It's not okay for you guys to be in such these high positions and leadership and administrative positions and compromise your character, your integrity, just to hold a position of power. I would never want to work for such a company. Never. Never. Now, another teacher was wrote up because she's a teacher, also a parent. Something happened with her child, so she stepped out of teacher mode and stepped into parent mode and went and handled a situation herself as a parent. The principal then wrote her up for saying, you cannot do that. You did not follow the chain of command, and you're making our district look weak. Literally what they wrote her up for. Could you guys imagine that? Like, you're doing what you're supposed to do, or what you feel is best for your child. Not even in the role of teacher right now. You're doing what you're doing for your child. And your principal, your boss, who's supposed to be the leader of your building, writes you up because she says that you are making her and the district look weak. Yeah. I have encountered a situation where another staff member has gotten wrote up because, again, they didn't follow chains of command. But if this person has been working with these students for years and years, and they know the progress that they have been, because they've been here to track this progress, and they go and they tell a parent, hey, I've seen your child make progress with this, maybe we should offer them this because they did better doing this versus this. And maybe it's a sensory thing, so I'm willing to accommodate your child in these ways. So we can go and tell the district or my superior that we know this works better for your child. But then that staff member got wrote up because you shouldn't be telling them that. You're putting these thoughts into these parents' heads. That's not your job. That's not your place. So they got wrote up for that. Could you imagine? These are just a few things of what has been happening within this school district in rural Alaska that they have been able to get away with because there isn't the proper oversight, because they assume and believe that they put people in these positions that will do the best of their ability to accommodate the community, which has been proven to not be the case. And when these facts have been brought to the district office and to people in such high positions, they just sweep it under the rug. Well, it's okay. It doesn't seem that bad, you know. Maybe it's just the teacher. We have also encountered where a teacher, who is also a parent as well, child was in a situation, in an environment with the teacher, and they felt as if they weren't being treated fairly. Now the child, not the teacher. The child felt that they weren't being treated fairly. They go to their mom, their parent, who was also a teacher. The parent says, okay, you can come and we come to my classroom. We'll do what we can, and you can just do your work in here. So, and we'll get to that later. They bring it to the principal and the AP. The assistant principal and the principal then goes, and the counselor, because for some reason she's in that position too, allowed to get away with certain stuff, and they go and tell this mother that maybe it was your child. Maybe it wasn't the teacher. Are you sure that your child was hearing things and seeing things accordingly, or were they just making that up? But if you feel that way, and that is the case, maybe you should move. Maybe you should just go to a different village. Could you imagine that? So instead of handling my problem as the leader you're supposed to be, you telling me that I should uproot my kids who are from here to a different place because you don't want to do your job. Couldn't even. This is also from the same people here that, now going back to what I said about the proof of the obituary, has asked another teacher to ask their family back at home to draft up an obituary so that they can have proof. I guess, again, that she's needed to go. That asked another personnel from their staff that wanted to go spend time with someone that was in, another family member that was in, a bad condition, to take proof as in a picture of them at the hospital to make sure they were really there. That's what they were taking their leave for. These are all. So last year, our principal, shout out to our old principal, we really miss you. I'm going to keep saying that as much as I can because we miss you. Retired. Him and his wife retired. He's been in the district for an ample amount of years. The staff here were happy. The community here were happy. Like, he probably didn't make everybody happy, but I know personally I have watched him go above and beyond for things, and many times when I know he didn't have to. But because he was such a great leader that wanted to see his staff thrive and make sure they had the proper support that they needed, he did just that. So they left. He retired. Him and his wife left last year. His job was open, right? So they posted his job as available. I know of 3 people that put in an application for this job, one of which was my spouse. I will add that both of them was brown. Don't know if that means anything. Don't know if it'll become a thing later. However, that was the thing. Neither one of them got an interview for this position. After the superintendent had told her, we're going to do interviews this week, we'll make sure to set you up for an interview, blah, 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 blah. She said, okay. She patiently waited. Nothing happened. We found out that the local board member from this community was interviewing with the current principal. Now, the superintendent at the time still never gave her a date or time as to when she was going to be interviewed. She just said that she was going to be interviewed. They're doing interviews this week. She'll reach back out to her to set an interview. Okay. Now, before this interview, let me take it back. The assistant principal's wife came into my spouse's classroom and said, it's not set in stone yet or anything, but, such and such, and the superintendent had dinner last night, and she's definitely going to get it. So, yeah, she'll be our principal next year. My spouse said, okay, cool. Because at this point, she was thinking that the superintendent was professional and would make the best professional decision. Come to find out, week later, fast forward back, week later, we find out that this person is on interview with the local board member alongside with the superintendent. Then next thing we know, it was just announced that, this person is going to be principal at this site. And it was like, sheesh. The superintendent said that she was going to give you an interview. You waiting on this interview. So she follows up and says, just following up, seeing when Yeah, I'll be interviewed, this, that, and the third. The superintendent then follows up and says, I can offer you this village, this village, this village, and this village. However, it won't be St. Michael. She said, I appreciate that. However, I can't move because my kids have become, known to this village. I've made these connections with the students. My child, who is on the spectrum, has good relationship with his sped teachers and the kids in his classroom here. On top of my spouse working in this community and the neighboring one. So it just would not be right for me to ask my family to uproot everything just to have this position. So it's okay. I'll stay here. Nothing to follow after that. Now, a few weeks later, the superintendent comes back and says, hey, I just want to follow up with you again and ask if you wanted this village, or this village. My spouse says, again, I appreciate the offer. However, it would not be right for me to ask my family to uproot again just to take a position when we've already made this home. Nothing to follow after that. So not only did she not get an interview, they didn't tell the local board member that it was a local candidate. And we don't even know how this interview process goes because she said that she made the best decision and the best fit for this community. How is that possible when the other person, besides my spouse, that filled out for this position was already a principal somewhere else? So how would she not be the best fit even outside of my spouse? How would that person not be the best fit if she's already in this position and know what to look for, what to do, how to already operate in that position? So you're saying that the other two wasn't even worthy of her interview, but this person is just that you had dinner with, I guess because she bought you a meal, she fed you, is the best fit for this community? Okay. Now, I wanted you guys to remember that because this is how it was brought to our attention about how this position came filled. Now, we have the principal who had dinner with the superintendent because that information came from the AP's wife, who was really good friends with this principal. So much so that she was telling me her information in 2021. Now, anybody that knows about all the stuff leading up to this video know that I have voice recordings and everything. So I can pull voice recordings from when this AP's wife was telling me about these people from when they were in Gamble. So this goes back to 2021. This also goes back to the AP wife. Like I said, they were in compromising, what's the word for it? Positions, should I say. And when I say that, it's mean, the saying, the drunk person tells no lies. So at this time was when the AP's wife said to me, because again, I'm sure they don't remember saying certain things, and certain things they said so quickly, I'm sure they didn't mean to say. There's no way that someone would come after me and be above me as my boss. So you've been working on this since 2021, and you forgot you told me this. You forgot that you said, yeah, I've been telling them you should just come here. I'll take any position you don't want. So that's how you made yourself a self-appointed admin, because you made sure to vouch for your people to come here so they could be in such a position of leadership and power so you were able to do whatever you wanted to, which is why you were able to fuss at the parents of this community when they came to you with legit questions about their child, which is why you were able to fuss at other teachers and roam the halls and do whatever you wanted because you was this self-appointed admin, which is why. So, okay, all of that happened, that transpired, all of this. The teachers this year said, our principal left. We go put our best foot forward because you give people the benefit of the doubt when you just don't know, right? That was the worst thing that could have happened for the community of St. Michael. They came in, Listen, I've been at that school more than half the admin. I can tell you that, and I don't even work at the school. When I go to the school, either they sitting in the office, all congregating with each other, sitting there laughing and giggling, or someone's running back and forth dealing with something with sports, not helping, not answering questions or nothing. We lost a good counselor here because the current counselor, which is the principal's wife, was able to get away with going to our old counselor and saying, I want your job. And somehow, some way, she got it. I'm just going to end this video here because I'm sure, as I said, there will be more questions, more things that come up. And at this point, I'm rambling. And it's time for me to step out the door to go talk to some folk. But I just want to end it on this note. This does not even begin to scratch the surface on what has happened here. The district is being affected, but also how it affects the staff, the staff that genuinely cares and wants to be here. We will continue to lose good people if we do not check the leadership of the people that's putting these people in these positions just for power, that has no idea about what's going on, what's better for the community, what's best for the students, because they don't even come in here to care about the students at all. When a student has to hear a teacher saying, oh, you're never going to leave here. You're only good for this or that. And these are the people that we're putting in high positions, such high positions. So again, if this video does nothing more than to bring awareness to the corrupt things and people that happens when there is not enough oversight in these rural villages, I have done my job. If this video does nothing more than to let all the teachers and staff know throughout this district that you are truly appreciated, the community needs you guys more than you will ever know. I have done my job. I truly want you guys to hold your head, man. I know it's tough. And I know it's so many more things that I can say that I've witnessed that, like I said, I probably won't get around to in this video. Just know that it's people like me that do not mind speaking and saying things that I know you guys have been reprimanded for. I've watched as they've tried to force certain people to do certain things, or I'm going to force you to go to another village, but have you send an email saying you volunteered to go. I know about all these things. I've heard about all these things. And if this video does nothing more but get to the right person so they can start investigating these people and these departments and even more so these funds and why you don't have it no more, then I did my job. So I hope and can only hope and pray that the people that are compromising their integrity and character just to be in these positions of leadership, hopefully you guys get it together. Hopefully you guys can take some of that malicious and hate out your heart and honestly be a genuine person and do right by people. Hopefully you guys can realize that you work for an organization that overall is supposed to be for the betterment of these kids. And I see that you're not doing right by them. So if this does nothing more than wake you guys the fuck up, I did my job.